ghost ghouls and things that go bump in the night. How's your September? You know, all the talk of people going back to school has me thinking about some of the great experiences I had in college. And one of the things I'll never forget was the rumor of my freshman dorm having an underground tunnel that connected to the police station, of all places. I don't know why. I never saw the tunnel for myself, but there was a padlocked door that I was told vehemently was the door that led through the tunnel, but had been blocked off for something like 20 years. Now, if I had been a little braver back then, I may have considered doing what the college students in the story that I'm going to tell you today did. And maybe, in retrospect, it's a good thing I didn't. So, that being said, take a seat, relax, and tune in for the story, There's Something Sinister Beneath My College. It was a week before spring break. Finals were coming up, but me and my friends were more worried about getting our partying on sooner rather than later. We gathered at our friend Amelia's dorm room for some pizza, smuggled booze, and a game of truth or dare. We arrived at her dorm room smuggling in rum and beer, which was sure to end in disaster. "Amelia!" my friend Josh said, hugging her. He was the one who set up this little get-together. And our last. After a few drinks, we somehow got on the topic of urban legends about the college. Of course, there were the usual legends: a secret club that you could only get into if you knew the principal's son, a black market in the library where you could buy whatever drugs they had on sale. But the one we talked about was the oldest one, the one that had been around 30 of the 50 years this university had been around. The legend of the Forbidden Basement. "I hear they have it chained up so no one gets in there," Amelia said. "Really, I heard it's there to stop something from getting out," our other friend Jennifer said. "You know, I was helping my grandfather garden earlier and still have this big weed trimmer. We should work it as a substitute bolt cutter against those rusty chains." It seemed like they were all thinking the same thing. In their drunkenness, they all decided that we should sneak into the basement and get a look at what the school was holding down there. I didn't have anything better to do, and I was already in a position where if I got caught and expelled, I wouldn't care. Therefore, I decided to join my friends on the adventure. It was a horrid mistake. We snuck our way past security, keeping our lights low as not to be seen. Strangely enough, there weren't any cameras where the basement door was, so we could get in there completely undetected. We finally arrived at the green, rusty door, bound by rusted chains and a sign next to it that read "Authorized Personnel Only." Josh got his cutters and went to work on the chain link. Soon we heard a snap and a loud clunk as the lock hit the ground. We opened the door to stairs leading down into an abyss. "Oh man, this is so scary," I heard Amelia say. We turned on our flashlights and walked down with no noise other than the echo of our feet hitting the iron stairs. "What do you think we'll find down there?" Jennifer asked. "Don't know, but if you ladies get scared, just cling on to me," Josh replied. We made it to the bottom and found a hallway that went down before going off to the left. We walked down the corridor and noticed how creepy it was, even for a basement. The walls were a rustic brown, and the floor beneath us was just a grate. I shone my light down on the floor and found a few rats scurrying across. Man, This place gives me the creeps, I said before we stopped at the door. The door we had come up on wasn't just made out of metal, but instead was a finely carved wood. We pulled open the door, and what we found on the other side baffled us. It was a large room, with puppets hanging from the ceiling. There was also a stagecoach with a sign that read, "The Grand Puppeteer." There was a moment of silence to take in the scene before I heard Josh ask, "What on earth is this?" We shined our lights around and found another door at the far end of the strange room. "Are we sure we want to press on?" I asked, hoping we could just go back. That's when we heard it. Carnival music coming from the other side of the door. We walked up to the door and opened it to another long hallway with a room that almost looked like prison cells on each side. "All right, that's it. I'm leaving. I don't care if it makes me a wuss." I cut myself off when I noticed something. There had been 4 of us when we came down. Jennifer was gone. "Jenny! Jenny!" I shouted before the halls echoed with her screaming. "Jen!" I heard Josh yell before running down the hall. Before I could say a word to stop him, he had disappeared into the darkness. "What do we do now, Mike? We can't leave them, but we can't go any further. This is terrifying," Amelia said. I didn't know myself. "Amelia, I'm gonna go look for Josh and Jennifer. You need to run back to the dorms." "Are you sure you can do it alone?" "I'll be fine, but I'll be better if I at least know that you made it out alive." She gave me a kiss and told me not to die before running back up to the dorms. I ventured further, hoping to find my friends. I went down into the dark corridor, shining my light in rooms that looked like mental ward facilities. What was this place? What had the college been doing down here? I stopped my interior monologue when I noticed something lying on the ground. It was another puppet. I picked it up, and my blood ran cold. It had Josh's hair, his glasses, and even his clothes. I dropped it. No way, that's not. I decided this was getting out of hand. Whatever this unseen puppet master was, he would see the end of everyone here. I turned and ran to try and get help. I went down the hallway, not wanting to go back any deeper into this labyrinth of torment. That's when I heard it. The carnival music, coming from right behind me. I turned to see a shadow figure floating towards me. I could see that it wore a long robe, and when I shined my light in its face, it looked like an old-time court jester. He wasn't fast, but I wasn't going to stick around any longer. I double-timed it until I got back to the puppet room. When I entered, something fell from the ceiling and landed right at my feet. I shined my light on it, then grabbed it. It was Jennifer. I shook myself out of the stupor when I heard the carnival music behind me getting closer. My running was hindered by my tired legs, the chill in my spine, and the doom in my heart. I finally made it back to the surface and slammed the door shut. I ran all the way back to my dorm room and locked the door. I spent a good hour laying in my bed and crying until I got a knock at the door. I had prayed it was Amelia, and when I opened the door, all I could see was the brown box by my feet. I dreaded opening it, and it turns out my dread was justified. For when I opened it, I found a twisted parody of my prayer. It was a puppet that looked just like Amelia, with a note in the box that read, "Until death do us part." Huh. Man, I am doubly glad I never checked out that tunnel in my college now. Did you guys have anything like this where you went to school, maybe just in a place that you hung out? If so, you should tell me about it. Send me an email at hauntedhorrorstorian@gmail.com or find our Facebook group at Haunted Horrorstorian Podcast. You can share your story there or send it to me personally. But until next time, my lovely listeners, I hope you stay spooky. I hope you stay safe. And remember, sometimes it's more than just a story.